Greetings, peace, 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 everyone. Welcome to our Midday Motivation. So today, I thought that we will quickly cover a little bit around the topic of raw being raw or raw food on a budget, because maybe you aren't raw, but maybe you do want to incorporate more raw into your budget, so, and into your lifestyle rather. So of course you're going to have to include it into your budget. That's important. So I really wanted to just cover a few items, and some of these you're probably familiar with already, but it's always good to just have open dialogue about these things, and that way you can ask a ton of questions. I also thought it would be great because you know I considered this topic because also I noticed that you know a lot of our Sunday prep will be moving into more raw. And so, because we'll be preparing more raw or high raw foods, and maybe one or two cooked ones, I thought it best, to give you a little bit of advice or ideas around how you can access more raw foods or make them more accessible for you and your family, make it easier for you to incorporate more into your lifestyle. So, all right, let's go. Let's do this. I shared just a little bit before we started of a song called Boye. I could play it again a little bit. I really enjoy it. Um, this song was actually created by, for those of you who are joining us and have danced before on one or two of our dance sessions with Ito Chana. She's an artist. So not only does she dance, but she also produces music. So this was just a little bit of a music. Look for her song Boye Boye. Greetings, Akuya. I was about to say Kashia. I'm not sure why the K's are taking it away today. And Manira. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our sovereign space. So, I'm glad that you can join us today. So, we're talking about raw food on a budget, right? And you can drop in the chat, you can drop any of, your questions, any concerns, or anything that may, I don't know, it may make you uneasy, uncomfortable, or it may worry you when it comes to transitioning to raw or including more raw into your diet. I know cost effectiveness is one of the most important concerns for everyone. So I'll give you a few tips and tricks, but a lot of you, I'm sure, are already hip to it. So let's go. All right. So, and when I talk about raw food, I'm really talking about incorporating foods that are uncooked or foods that may receive a bit of heat, but the heat does not go beyond 112 to 120 degrees. And of course, there's so many different ideas and ideas out there about the temperature for that, but making sure the priority is to make sure that the food is not cooked so that the enzymes are rendered denatured or rendered incapable of functioning in the system. All right, so you want to make sure that you're paying attention to heat. Okay, that does not mean that you cannot consume non-raw foods. It just means that if you're going to call it raw, completely raw, then it has to be prepared within a certain room temperature. All right. And I just wanted to pause and say this. We'll learn a lot more about food temperatures and so on when we're actually working with the dehydrator and dehydrated foods. But yesterday was World Food Safety Day, so there was a lot of conversation around food safety and how food safety actually affects food security. And considering the rise of COVID and how it has affected access to food. I mean, even now we see that the food prices are increasing exponentially. It's crazy, what things are. Yeah, so some food items that I used to purchase, I'm noticing the increase. It's increasing by the dollar amount, not even by cents, right? But food safety and the threat to food safety can cause or have an adverse effect on food security. All right. And I'm just touching on that a little bit because it's directly connected to one or two of the other things that kind of affect food safety, which includes heat and temperatures. All right. So when you're using heat on food, you want to make sure it's very high. If it is warm and within a certain temperature, it can actually harm you because it will cause certain mold and bacteria to populate and grow faster and cause you to get sick. So you want to be very careful. If you're not aware of how to function with certain temperatures, please get aware. Ask me. I'll be happy to share. We're not talking about that today, though. So raw food on a budget. All right. So I spoke about raw. You can be high raw. A high raw um, meal, right, is considered anything that is 80% and above. Sometimes you'll hear 90%. And again, that's because, you know, the idea and the concept of raw food and nailing it down to specifics is pretty new. When people said they were raw, all that meant was that they ate foods that were in the uncooked state. I was actually looking up a while ago. I'm going to go off on a little tangent. For people who are famous who actually ate a raw food meal, raw food lifestyle, or a raw food diet, so to speak. And I think I found Philippa Schuyler. And that fascinated me because I'm also fascinated by her as well. Her mother actually forced her to consume a raw diet, but that raw diet included animal flesh as well, in sparing amounts. In sparing amounts. Of course, this is something I read, so it could be hearsay. Who knows? But I was just interested in those people who were famous who ate raw from a very early stage, long before the bandwagon started. All right, so that's something to know. Maybe you want to explore it if you like. Let me greet anyone else who's coming in. Greeting Sister Naya, greeting Sister Maxine. All right, let me tell you all something. I would like you, Sister Maxine, can you please place the name of your YouTube channel in our post? Please, 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 in our chat, because I was rocking to some of her DJ mix while food prepping the other day. It was really good. It was good, good. So, check out Maxine's YouTube channel because her DJ mixes are on there. And you can rock to, food prepping today with some of her songs. Greetings, Ahot Kashia. Thank you for joining us. So, a couple things. You want to strategically, if you intend to budget and consume raw food on a budget regularly, you want to make sure that you are purchasing strategically from food, what you might call it. I had it on the tip of my tongue. Fruit and vegetable markets, right? And sometimes I know some people are reluctant to, excuse the noise in the background. Sometimes some people are reluctant to purchase depending on the types of foods that are also prepared in that space. So I tend to be very cautious about purchasing from fruit and veggie markets that also butcher or carry meats that they prepare on site, or they have to handle on site, right? So meaning they have to package and so on site. They may not necessarily cut up, but they may package on site. I'm very wary of that because that's a whole, when it comes to food safety, touching back on the food safety issue, cross contamination is also one of the major ways that food can become contaminated and be unhealthy for us to consume. All right. And what's of paramount importance as well is what type of food is being, cross-contaminated with your veggies. All right. So things that are unclean or considered unclean based on Mosaic law, you want to make sure those things are not being processed in that same space. It may be difficult, but I mean, why compromise your standards? Why? So again, strategically buying fruit and vegetable from market stands that you have vetted, making sure that you purchase in season. And you probably say, well, why in season? If you purchase in season, you can buy in bulk, and buying in bulk allows you to process some of those fruits and veggies. You can marinate them and keep jars of marinated veggies in your fridge. I'm not saying you can keep them for years or months, but if you purchase plums or anything that's sweet, you can use them to make preserve. So you have some fresh and you have some that you preserve. Again, you're probably saying, well, how would I preserve them if I don't cook them? There are many ways to preserve and even can foods without having to utilize heating or cooking them excessively, but you may have to cook them, all right? Some of them. Freezing also helps, so you can freeze, and they're good. Using freezer bags may not be your thing, but it's the easiest way to package and label lots of items that you want to utilize throughout the summer months and maybe even into the fall months. So again, purchase large amounts or purchase large scale from farmers markets or fresh local markets, always best. It saves a lot of money and you end up buying fresh local produce. And the thing about it is when you buy fresh local produce, you're paying less for it because it has less distance to travel to get to you, right? But also it also helps to improve your carbon footprint because what you're not doing is purchasing from companies that have to utilize a lot of gas in order for trucks to travel long distances to bring produce to where you are. So always make sure that you're purchasing things that are local. I know some items are not easy to find locally, but that's where the inventiveness and innovation and also compromise, not compromise, but sacrifice comes in, right? Not compromise, sacrifice. All right. Very important to think about. Also, there are a few companies that actually sell fruit. They're like subscription boxes. They are quite affordable, and they actually process and package, sorry, and ship fruits and veggies to you. So sometimes that is helpful because maybe you don't have time to drive around and find the perfect spot. So maybe ordering and allowing for the delivery to come to you is helpful. Sometimes I find that you purchase one portion and they give you several, right? I think that's it's unspoken, but many times I look in my box when I do get it and I'm like, wow, I got several additional pounds of one thing or ounces of one thing. Um, that may have been in abundance at that time. All right, so that's one thing. Consider purchasing local with fresh food delivery. So that's, maybe you don't want to drive out to your market. Maybe you want to do both a bit of delivery and a bit of the market. That's helpful because what happens again is both the delivery will focus on the local fruits and veggies and what's in season. And one of the best things is to actually eat in season, right? That's something we can actually explore later on. Eating in season actually helps us to our bodies to actually adjust to allergies and, allergy season and so on much better. All right. So that's important to think about. Greetings, Des. Thank you for joining us. Sister Kashia says, yes, food shopping always involves more than one source. So to ensure quality of food, that's right. But sometimes you don't have all that time. And sometimes you can actually, what can help you is actually doing that food, getting that food delivery. And for those of you who probably enjoy what do you call them, the large chain grocery stores, you can actually order and they'll deliver. But if they don't deliver to where you are, you can pull up and they will bring out your produce and pack your car, of course your trunk, and you can drive off. No contact, no getting into small spaces with anyone. Do you understand? And because I know some of the mandates on masks and mask wearing and all of that is seems to be changing. It it just guarantees that you don't have to engage with anyone at all. So that might be the one thing that you want to do. Another thing that's helpful for planning on a budget or raw food on a budget is planning your meals, right? If you plan your meals ahead of time, there are tons of different options and templates for meal planning out there. It's, easy at at the tip of your fingers, your index finger, your pinky finger, anyone. But meal planning is always helpful. You might say, okay, well, I bought a ton load of this one particular veggie and I don't know what to do with it because I made this one meal, but there's so many other things you can do. If you meal plan, you'll realize that you can actually take one vegetable and chop and screw it or splice it or spice it according to what we say. You can spice it several different ways. All right, so you can take one thing, maybe even squash, and make noodles as we made together the other day, and or make soup, as well as maybe you want to make a vegetable pilaf. You may want to also take that same thing item and make a casserole, and then what you'll do is just mix and match the other veggies with it. So one item can be utilized in 4 different meals, and some of those meals, they'll be hidden, so sometimes the problem is seeing it. When you see this thing, let's say for pumpkin, for example, I love pumpkin. All right, I love pumpkin a lot. Not so much the butternut squash, right? But I do love pumpkin. And I mean, this is not pumpkin season. Maybe I should talk about what do you call them? Courgettes, zucchini, because zucchini is in it's flourishing now, right? There's an overabundance of it, right? But I really love pumpkin. And pumpkin is kind of what do you call it? Fall, so to speak. But you can take pumpkin and you can chop them up in cubes and make a simple stir fry. And then you can take that same pumpkin and make a pumpkin soup with it. And if you add other veggies, the soup will be yellow, of course, but you can add curry and make it a soup that has a curry flavor. And for those of you saying, what? Curry soup? Well, I don't have to wait for someone to make me something for me to actually be innovative. As you can see, we had some innovative combinations last Sunday. I'm currently working on a olive ice cream, y'all. I'm serious. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. But yeah, so with that, you can take the same pumpkin and you can use it fresh and make noodles. And again, you're probably saying, okay, well, soup, you're talking about cooked soup on the stove. So this is raw food on a budget. So I'm talking not so much about cooked soup, but if you want to cook the soup, you can. You can actually take raw pumpkin, and if you have a very powerful blender, you can blend it. You can add coconut cream, you can add other veggies, and you will get a wonderful raw soup very easily. Okay, you can take the same pumpkin and shred them and layer them and create something like a lasagna or vegetable pilaf. And pilaf would be a combination of something that is like a rice, so you can add wild rice to it, which is not like the regular white rice or brown rice, and other veggies, green peas, snow peas, as well as pea shoots and so on. I'm not giving you all recipes, but I'm just showing you how you can take one thing and spice it in different ways. And the majority of that's why I said spice it, because what will make each dish different for each meal is the flavor. All right, so your soup can be curried, but your stir fry, you may want to use tarragon instead. And tarragon is really a great taste. It marries very well if you want something very super savory and heavy. So you may want to use tarragon. Another day you may want to use something like, oh my gosh, what's the combination? Sesame seeds, stripped nori, and toasted sesame seed oil. So those will give you a different flavor combination. And sometimes I'll say something that incorporates heating or cooking, because like I am not 100% raw. So sometimes I do mostly high raw. So you'll get an idea here or there that includes something that's cooked or not. All right. If anyone can crack the olive ice cream code, it's you. Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'll try. So anyway, the key to that third point was to plan. Planning is key. Meal prepping is key. Meal planning is key. Identifying nutritional content of each meal is also very important. But that meal planning really helps you to allocate funds when it comes to budgeting, but also identify how you're going to use specific produce, so that way you're more efficient in what you're doing. All right. And yeah, maybe you have someone who does that for you, and that's also a good thing, because it allows you to free up time to do what you need to do when it comes to economics, right, and other things. So Des says, don't forget to taste test each attempt though. um yeah, well, that's a good that's great. But where I'm from, there, the back of the hand is like a taste test machine. Okay. I'm joking, I don't do that anymore. But growing up, I saw a lot of the older women that, like, that's how hot, I'm telling you. They cooked, right? There was no raw. They cooked, so the hot spoon got turned over on the back of the hand, and that's where they taste tested a lot. All right, but tasting is very important every step of the way. It makes sense to taste. But maybe you don't, because you already have an idea of how flavors combine. And if that's the case, because you've been exploring a lot, it makes it very easy for you. Um, oh my goodness, now I have another way to use my tarragon. Thank you. If you know, you know. Y'all on this olive ice cream is still coming with it. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Anyway, um, digital trends is an option. I remember I did a podcast on raw food on a budget too, and we went into a little bit more detail. But digital trends has a meal planning option. But again, there's so many meal planning apps and websites. I don't need to give you ideas about those right now. I think that it's very easy to find one. It's just about finding one that works for you. Some are very intuitive, but some require a lot of adding of recipes and so on, which is not quite necessary for me. I don't use those apps. I started using them, but I realized they're very difficult to share. So I actually just use an Excel spreadsheet. I like boxes and squares. So I'm joking. But really, it makes it very easy. Open up your Excel spreadsheet, and you decide what you're going to input into your meal planning. You decide which days. For example, on my meal planning spreadsheet, Sabbat or Saturday is not necessarily highlighted as a day where I am inputting a meal or preparing a meal at all, because that's done on the Friday. Neither is the what is called Sunday or Yom Rishon, because um, that's also pre-populated with something that's prepared from the Friday. So those are days that nothing, doesn't have to be populated with anything. It gives me the option of including a grocery list. So I include a grocery list toward the end of my little meal planning boxes and squares on my Excel spreadsheet, because it gives me the option of just thinking of all the items that I've gone through, and I can easily add them to the list, so that the next time I'm preparing, or when I meal plan for the following strong, I have a list of the items that I need to purchase, or things that I have that I don't need to buy anymore of, right? I don't need to re-up or restock. Two last things: high quality produce. And high quality produce is actually connected right back to the very first point about purchasing your fruits and veggies from markets, right? Large scale farmers markets or fresh local markets. And I think one of the things to consider, I remember a sister sharing that one of the things to consider is to actually going out to the the farms, right? Because some farms actually do sell produce at their farm, right? They do have stands. So maybe you don't want to wait till you go to the farmers market or the local fresh farmers market. Maybe you want to drive out to where the farm is. Maybe you can develop a relationship with the farm and you're able to purchase bulk items. For me, I know in the past I've purchased bulk things like microgreens, bulk what is sunflower sprouts. I was trying to remember because I like alfalfa sprouts, but I have in the past purchased trays of sunflower sprouts, and they're much more affordable. When you buy the tray, you get the whole tray for $10-15, whereas if you purchase a little bag with a couple ounces of sunflower organic sunflower sprouts, you each bag is about $5. All right, I haven't purchased them in those little bags for such a long time because the bulk tray, the bulk trays work. Or you can sprout your own. Alfalfa seeds are very easy to sprout. Sunflower seeds are also very easy to sprout and grow. I actually have some that I'm working with on the windowsill right now. Let's see how they come up because I haven't sprouted in a long time personally. But again, back to the idea of high quality produce, because high quality produce again makes it very easy to reduce how much you eat, right? Because if your food is nutrient dense, because the quality of the food is high, because fruits and veggies is high, because it comes from a reputable farm where the soil, right, is enriched properly, and they're not necessarily adding a bunch of whatevers to it, but the soil is actually rich, that it rich soil actually equates to nutrient dense foods, and nutrient dense foods actually equates to eating less, because your body doesn't crave having this or that, because it feels like it's fortified sufficiently. Okay, and the last thing is you want to invest in one or two supplements that you are willing to, I won't not compromise on, right? So for me, that's spirulina and chlorophyll. Those are two items that I always have and I always include, because even though it is spirulina is processed, it's a sea vegetable that gives me access to a lot of nutrients. It's very easy for me to, in the middle of the day when I have not food prepped, to grab an avocado, mash it, add spirulina, add dulse and cayenne, and I'm good to go. And that will last me for hours, hours, because it's that spirulina, right? High levels of protein, lots of minerals. It's a sea vegetable. Sea moss is also a great option as well too. Um, Excellent option. Can't say anything else other than excellent option. Um, Nuts and seeds are also important too, because if you're attempting to sprout your own, which you can, it means that you can actually make your own um, sunflower sprouts. You can make your own alfalfa sprouts and use those in your salads. All right. So those are just a few um, options, a few helpful tips for you all when it comes to raw food on a budget. I'm Moksha, and I'm just grateful that you all joined. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Maxine says you're going to the farms is a whole experience. Yeah, it is, and it really helps you to think about consumption as well too. How much we consume, especially if you restrict your purchasing to when you go to the farmers market, not the farmers market, but the farm. All right. Even reducing your purchasing to the farmer's market is also helpful because it means that you are restricting your how much you engage with highly processed foods. All right. So when you go to the grocery store, there is of course, a produce section, but they're so strategic. They're so smart. They make you walk past all of the other aisles before they give you what's really good for you, right? Some of them, I do walk in and there's the wonderful vegetable aisle and produce aisle, but then you have to walk past it and then you have to walk through all the dried snacky section and the frozen section before you get to the cashier. So tricky, right? But if you go to a market stand, a fruit stand, or the farm, then you're restricted to fresh fruits and veggies. That's very helpful, and that will keep you within budget, but it will also keep you on your raw food goal, if that's a goal for you. So there are a few things in the chat that I'm going to read. Sister Kashia says, yes, open up first during the season before sending their produce to markets. Yes, that's right. Sister Deidre says she's sprouted alfalfa. It is simple and quick, and they were delicious. I had some of them. I must say, it was good. It was good, good, good. And that kind of re-inspired me because I had not done sprouting in a long time. And you need space for it, right? You do need space for it. But I will say you don't need all that fancy equipment. Reuse, reduce, recycle. If you have plastic bottles, you use them, right? And I know plastic, oh my gosh, it's the thing that we fear. Use them. Use them, use them, use them. Don't heat them, but use them. Naya says, I recently started with spirulina. I was nauseous in the first few days. Right. So the thing about spirulina is it depends on the brand. Feel free to post a comment in the comment section after the video post. And I'm doing that because it helps y'all to engage. Right. So if you want that information from me, go in the comment section and put it in. But some, I'll say this, you have to think about, it's a sea vegetable, all right? So it will have a very strong flavor. However, some brands are much better than others, all right? There's one brand that I utilize and I've never used anything else. People have given me as gifts other brands as gifts, and I have regifted them with a disclaimer, so to speak. I always let them know, use it, but there is that taste or that flavor. Or I have in the past taken it and utilized it to make raw foods or raw meals where I want a fishy or fish heavy taste. So you can use that spirulina that you may not want to drink it as a shake, but you may want to use it because it does flavor certain foods to make them have that fishy taste, right? So that's an option. But there is one brand alone that I know of. I have not had anything else. It is perfect. It's perfect. There is a bit of sea smell to it and taste, but it is not as offensive. I know what you're talking about. Um, I know what you're talking about. Sister Maxine says it's interesting. Yeah, I love spirulina. I don't know what y'all. Like I said, I can just, you know, there's a peanut shake. I actually love peanut punch, but I love adding spirulina to the peanut punch. And the peanut butter actually takes away from that heavy taste. So there you go. That might help. It might just help. Adding vanilla and spices also helps to put the spirulina in its place, right? If you want to put spirulina in order, get yourself some cinnamon and nutmeg and maybe even some peanut butter because of the heaviness and the strength of peanut butter. It will overpower it. It will. Maxine says, what is the amount that got you nauseous? That's a good question too. How much did you use? All right, because and I'm, how much do you use? Because sometimes if you're just introducing these supplements, that's a great question, Maxine, because if you're just introducing it, you want to introduce small amounts, right? So you may think a teaspoon is very small, but maybe even half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon. Um, and you want to also test to see consistently if you're having an allergic reaction, because maybe it's an allergic reaction. All right. We have become so accustomed to saying, oh, well, it's just nausea. I'm just a little bit, must have a little stomach upset. It may be an allergy. Many years ago, one of my co-workers would order huge batches, bottles, glass bottles of juice from me for her juice cleanses and so on. And one time I did not do a fresh juice, I did a shake for her because she wanted some, she was working out and she wanted something that would hold her. And I did that, and I added the spirulina, and she got nauseous so many times, and she kept saying, I don't think it's an allergic reaction. She kept saying that, and I didn't think it was. But she was allergic to strawberries and so many things. So a couple strongs after, she actually took an allergy test, and they did extensive testing on her. And actually, apart from strawberries, all sea vegetables came back as positive for her. So she had to eliminate all sea veggies from her diet because she would have such severe allergic reaction. So just pay attention to it, reduce it, and pay attention again. Pay attention to, maybe it's the smell causing you to feel um, nauseous or nauseated, and not necessarily it being an allergy. So pay attention to that. Um, I love sea moss. I make my own gel and add it to my smoothies. Yes, Sister Kashia, smoothies, cheese, sauces, soup, you name it. Let's not talk about it. I'll give it away. Listen, if you want a very thick dressing for maybe a salad or so, add sea moss gel to it and a little bit of warm water, and the gel would just expand. It's an emulsifier. That's why I used it in the ice cream as well last Sunday. So sea moss, excellent, excellent. And it's a good substitute. Thank you for bringing that up, Sister Kashia. Sister Naya, what is actually a good substitute would be sea moss. So if you realize that the spirulina, I mean, it's fun. The children love it because they seem to think that it's Hulk like. So if you add it to a drink, it's like, yeah, I'm drinking a Hulk drink or something. Their teeth get green. You put it in popcorn, their teeth get green. They like that nonsense. They love it. But if it's because if the spirulina is giving you an allergic reaction, an excellent substitute would be the sea moss or bladder rack. So bladder rack may be another option for you. It's much stronger. I'm just warning you ahead of time, but it is an excellent blood builder and blood cleanser at the same time. All right. Um, as many minerals as sea moss has, but it does the blood cleansing work that sea moss doesn't necessarily do. Um, Naya says, Maxine, please share your music channel. Yes, please, Sister Maxine, please give thanks. If you can pop it in the chat, that would be great. Great, great, because I cannot remember it off the top of my head right now. I think it is Maxine. Naya says, okay. Sister Kashia says, yes, allergic reactions are more than hives and the inability to breathe. Yes, this is true. The reactions can be very subtle. Very subtle. Give thanks, Des. I tried sharing it, but the chat erases it. It's under Maxine. Okay, you cannot post links. All right. Well, here's what I am going to do right now, because if the channel is named Maxine, I am gonna find it. I think I have it in my history. Yeah, you can post links. I know. I know you can't post links, unfortunately. Unfortunately, they're so smart. They know how to, have people under heavy manners. So wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. But you said it is Maxine, right? I'll hold it up. My computer is moving. My phone is moving slow, slow, slow. So, any other questions? Do you ladies have any other questions? Um, any other comments? Any other things that you'd like me to share? Um, I think I got to everything. I believe so. I believe I got to everything. One other thing I wanted to actually share. Greetings, peace, welcome, Chief Yuya. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being in the space. Chief Jegna, always, supportive, always here. Thank you very much for being in our space. Sister Naya says, I am on my second strong and I'm doing well so far. Kashia, I'm keeping your words in mind too because I had an issue with ashwagandha and haven't tried it since. Yeah, ashwagandha, things like ashwagandha and maca can be hard on the stomach. Um, can be hard on the stomach. Do you mind sharing with us what happened? Maxine said, yes, this was very helpful system option, especially with the bladder wax substitute. Yes, it's a great substitute if you can handle it. Bladder wax is like a big, strong something. It's very strong. It's very strong. It's excellent. I mean, I am not one to, how should I say, I am not one to go for taste, right? So I'll have bitter things all the time, and I love bitter. Your body loves bitter. Your liver loves bitter. Your liver loves bladder whack. Your kidney loves bladder whack. It love it. You might not like it. Your mind mightn't like it because your mind, your mind has gotten so like gotten so accustomed to certain flavors and tastes, right? It kind of just weakens us. But your organs love it, and the liver and the kidney particularly love bladder wrack, and so on. So that's always a good thing to consider. It's always good to consider what it is that you. I can't find it, so what I will do is I will post it in the description later on. Um, oh, Naya says I was nauseous with ashwagandha consistently. All right, so um, I would put it away, right? But even before you put it away, ask yourself the question: why were you taking it in the first place? That that I think we hear about all the herbs and the roots, and I'm guilty for that. I share a lot of that because I want us to know, but very important to pay attention to, just very important to pay attention to why you began to use it in the first place, right? My perspective about when it comes to herb and transitioning to vegan or raw or plant-based is always, what is your purpose for doing it? Why? What is that why? What is the problem that you're having that transitioning or using this herb or food will help to solve? Because if that's the case, then more than likely there are substitutes that will work just as well, but not um, give you allergic reactions or cause nausea. All right. So always go back to that why. Always go back to that why. Yeah. Sister Deidre says she finds that ashwagandha is energizing. I could have used a shot of it yesterday. I think I will take one now. Okay. So that was good. That was helpful for her. She needed an energy boost, y'all. Yeah, ashwagandha is great as an energy booster. Maca is as well too. And you know what, Naya? There's so many other things that you can consider too, because it may just be the brand, it may be the company. Because even with things like maca, I have heard many people complain about how hard it can be to digest. But if you don't get the gelatinized version, which doesn't mean that there's gelatin added to it, it just means that it is cooked to a certain degree and it forms a gel, and they dry that and they use that powder. That pre-cooking process actually aids in breaking down the roots and those major enzymes to kind of help you digest it properly and help your body assimilate it. So it may be the company, right? And it may be the company's processing of that particular herb that could be the problem. So I always say ask a lot of questions, dig, find out, um, before you purchase from a particular company. Find out about their practices. Do the look at the reviews, right? Especially if you're ordering it off of those very easy sites you can order off of. If you're ordering from there, look at the reviews, and don't look at the positive reviews. Look at the negative ones. See what people are consistently complaining about, because that may be the one thing that you are not willing to compromise. All right. Sometimes there are things that people complain about, and it's like, that's all right for me, but there may be things that they complain about in terms of how the effect it had on them, or what it looks like, or the packaging. All those things can affect um, the way it affects you in turn, right? This makes sense why some people love certain things and others swear against it. It is because their unique bodies may not be a complement to what they are consuming. One size doesn't fit all. Excellent. Yep, one size could never fit all. I just do. The bacteria in our gut is like a fingerprint. It is unique to each of us. Imagine that, right? The gut is the key to digesting and assimilating the food that we consume. All right. The physical food, right? Because there's other foods too, but the physical food. So there's no way. I mean, we physically sometimes we look similar, right? We all have, there are these specific blood types, and they have all of these categories and boxes that they put us in. But the truth is, there's so much dynamic difference and variety in the way we process food, right? Apart from where we were born and raised, then we have blood type to consider. We have the digestive system to consider, and again, how very different each digestive system is constructed. All right. And the types of enzymes that are present and those that are not there. All right. So all of those things can be taken into consideration. All of them. All of them. And it takes time. You may think, and this might be a lot of information for you, but it takes time. I've been doing this and working with veggies and vegan or plant-based life since I was 14. So there have been a lot of things that I've been exposed to, and I realized, this is good for this person, this is no good for this person. I can tell you, if someone comes to me right now and they're like, I have gallstones and I have other issues going on, gout and so on, I know exactly which foods to remove from their diet or from the meals that I prepare. All right, or which foods to tell them to remove completely. So it takes time, and Chief has dubbed everyone future chefs in here. Future master chefs. Okay, so yeah. That's you and you and you and you and you and you. All right, Sister Kashia said that makes sense. All right, that's true. You're listening and reflecting. Yeah, you are welcome. Popcorn. Yeah, popcorn doesn't digest very easily at all. But it is used, right? I learned from an elder that she uses popcorn and even baked and cooked corn. She uses it as a medicine. She uses it to help to flush her system, her digestive system, and to scrape the inner walls as well. We won't go into those gory details, but that's how she uses it. So it's not just, oh, she's eating popcorn. She loves it, but she uses it strategically at special times so that she can use it to flush out the walls of her system. Flush the walls, keep everything moving. apparently it's funny that I won't say the words, and so it's making everyone around me laugh and just, yeah. So, if you spill your water and all the ashwagandha that you're trying to take as a shot right now, that's good for you. Very good for you. Stop laughing at people. Don't do it. Oh my goodness. Naya says, let me see. No, Kashia says, Naya, definitely avoid foods that cause gas. This includes many things deemed healthy and fresh. This is true. This is true. You know, that, uh, cooking and food prep is a science. And I think um, just like perfumery is a science. I'm trying to remember the name of this film that I watched. I'm going to go sidetrack for a little while, y'all. There was this amazing film that I watched years ago, and recently, maybe a month or two ago, I saw it again. And I was quite fascinated with it because it is very similar to food prepping, right? In that, but I mean, unfortunately, this person, the man, well, I don't know if he's the protagonist. He was a killer because he would take people's body and try to use it to create essences. And in creating essences, he became a perfectionist when it came to blending the essence of a person to the point where he would sell it and infuse it in perfumes, and it had an adverse effect on the people who utilize it. They couldn't resist the smells, right? So, and I'm saying, why am I bringing up this very crazy um example, right? Or film. It's because it's in the doing, it's in the creating. All right, it's a chemistry, and that chemistry requires knowledge of how to prep certain things. Sister Kashia said, yes, some things that we're told are fresh are great for us, but some that's why I'm not an advocate for 100% raw, because there are certain items that you, after a certain age, you cannot consume raw because your enzyme count is reduced. Those specific enzymes are no longer present, all right, or they're in very low amounts, right? And so it makes it very difficult to process certain foods. But even cruciferous veggies, this is another side of it, right? Cruciferous veggies should be flash steamed in a particular way to extract the highest levels of prebiotics and enzymes from them. We overcook them, we waterlog them, and even when we put them in a steam basket, we steam them for far too long. All right, and I that's one of the talks that I actually want to have: how to effectively consume cruciferous veggies so that it helps to rebuild the gut and the digestive tract. Because again, as Kashia said, there are things that we're told are healthy for us, but they're not, at least not for my body, and maybe not for your body, but maybe for another person's body. All right, it might be genetics, it might be geography, it might be pigmentation, might be might be Sister Kashia says, I'm still learning. Naya says, sorry, Kashia, I'm still learning, and sometimes painful learning because I enjoy food. Oh boy. Foodies. You are all foodies. I spiralized for the first time yesterday thanks to your instructive video. You are most welcome. It was intuitive though, right? Spiralizing is pretty easy. Pretty easy. Pretty easy. When it comes to, just pop it in the spiralizer and do it. Do it. It's fun too. Oh, Naya asked, what did you make? Naya asked, what did you make? You saw that film, it was really good. I can't remember the name of the film, Sister Deidre, but I'm sure you can. You are a movie buff. A fanatic is what I should say. You like films a lot. Because she says, with colitis, you'll have to unlearn how to prepare food and view it as nourishment versus enjoyment. Not that it cannot be good, but what has made you ill is damaging if you persist. Yep. Yep, and the thing is, Kashia, some people don't change when they observe their bodies having these reactions to food. They don't change it. They think, okay, I need some kind of medication, or I need something to stop the painkiller. In other words, according to my grandmother, you're putting a bandage on a sore, right? If you put a bandage on a sore, all it's gonna do is just cover it up. It does not heal the wound, right? Doesn't heal it. So you want to heal, and sometimes healing begins with removing what started the issue in the first place, right? Very, yeah. Someone who has spent a lifetime eating raw. Is that true for someone who has spent a lifetime eating raw? Are they not accustomed to it by then? You're talking about certain foods. It's not a custom. It's not a custom. I think one of the things we have to consider is that food food can heal or hurt. All right, and when if food can heal or hurt, um, if food heals or hurts you is dependent on how you interact with it, right? So if you're constantly having either an allergic reaction, or your stomach, you break out in pain because maybe you're consuming very fine foods or flours or powders, and they're irritating your body, then you have to stop consuming them. You may not know that that's what's happening, but that's when paying attention to the body itself and how it interacts or it reacts to food is very important. I can tell you sometimes, even when I pick up a fruit or veggie or food, whether it's going to be good to me or not. There's an energetic exchange that happens, and maybe it's not energetic. It's maybe just the Most High saying, "Don't eat that." Maybe that's what it is, but it becomes a very intimate conversation that you have with your food when you're able to do that. So just tapping in and keying into the way your body has reactions with food is it and to certain foods is important. Sometimes very subtle things, very subtle things. And eating raw over a period of time does not um it doesn't necessarily allow the body to build up the ability to break down something that it is has never been prepared to do. All right, you can get accustomed to it, and your body can definitely create the appropriate environment or micro build up the microbiota that's needed to break down food. And I'm speaking to Sister Deidre, but there are some things I know I will never be able to digest as I used to before. Kale is one of them. It's never, if I don't have baby kale, it doesn't become something that is easy for me to digest. Someone who has, oh my goodness, I called it not colitis, but oh my goodness, it slipped me. It slipped me. How could it slip me? It's gonna come back to me. But there are certain foods, even if you're raw, you can't eat. Spinach is one of them because it's very high in certain enzymes and certain minerals that your body doesn't digest. And what happens is it sits in between the joints, and it crystallizes and it causes irritation in the joints. All right. And I know some people who they enjoy the foods I make, but there are certain things that they can't have the greens, or the raw greens. All right. Um, One such food is callaloo. So if anyone is familiar with some Caribbean foods, dasheen leaf or callaloo and even spinach, it's very high in that particular thing, and you have to cook it. Oxalic acids, right? Very, very high. And so, if you're not cooking it properly, if you eat it prematurely, callaloo itself, which is so good but is overcooked, you're gonna have your whole mouth will be on fire. You'll be itching, your stomach will be itching, and you will feel it, right? You'll feel it in your bone, in your joints, because the oxalic acid crystallizes in the joints and it sits there. And what you have when crystals form, when crystals form, imagine taking sugar crystals, putting them in a bowl, and taking your hand, ball it up in a fist, and place your hand inside of that sugar bowl and keep grinding. And then lift it up. It'll be irritated. It might be scratched up and bruised up. That's the feeling that people get when they can't process oxalic acid properly, because too much, and it happens to all of us too. Too much of it. I've personally tested it. I've tested consuming callaloo raw. That was a good one. Oh my goodness, never again. That was like the olive experiment last Sunday. No, don't do it. Um, but if it's undercooked, even if you cook it but it's undercooked, it has the same effect. It will scratch your mouth, and it will deposit. Right, lots of deposits will form in the joints. So very important to think about that. Yes, 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 yes. Um, and I think, now that I reflect on it, I think I remember hearing some of the elders from when I lived in the Caribbean. Some of the elders talk about having those issues with joints, but loving callaloo, and them can't stop eating. A matter of fact, callaloo is a huge part of our one of the major dishes that's considered our traditional Grenadian dish. So a traditional Grenadian dish. So people eat a lot of it, and you got to learn how to remove those things that cause inflammation. Maxine says that was my grandfather's pet peeve. Overcooked veggies will get you cussed out. And children don't like it either. No adult should have overcooked veggies. I mean, albeit sometimes it's hard, but overcooked veggies is bad. Marinate them. Don't cook them. Marinate them. Or try a stir fry, very low, only for 15 minutes, if so much, and you're good to go. Naya says, yes, Kashia, reintroducing things to my system was a challenge, and I had to make many changes, but change is constant, and change is good. Change is good. It allows the body to readjust and rebuild itself. Okay, y'all probably saw this long before I did. The name of the film was The Perfumer. That was The Perfumer. Let me read the last few of our posts, and then I'm jumping off. It is 1:41. This is how I lost about 60 pounds over 4 years ago. My body was fighting what was good and not functioning at all. It affected me emotionally, mentally, physically. I'm still learning. Yes, and your body is still learning too. All right. Your body's still learning too. Sister Kashia says, I grow kale and give it away. Cannot consume it unless small amounts in a smoothie. Too much work breaking it down for my body. But steaming it can work, and cooking it lightly can work. All right. So those are things you can experiment with, because there's still some nutrient content available to us. All right. Peace, you all. Thank you all for joining us. I give thanks for everyone who came in and had dialogue, had questions, and shared. I really appreciate you all. I like the fact that we're building a learning community, because, master chefs, okay, y'all? I'm owning it, claim it, own it, is yours. Throw on your master chef jacket, take it, put it on, it's yours. Peace and power, wellness is yours. Hold on to it.